I don't think I will be planning another July trip anytime soon. The heat index was around 105. I would put Riviera number 4. The monorail can just get so busy. I would prefer to get on a boat or to walk over to Magic Kingdom. He got us into a room immediately, which that has never happened before. Do you think you would travel to Disney solo with your kiddo if you didn't do YouTube? Hello, you guys. We are back from Disney and I'm gonna be answering all of your questions about our trip. I asked you guys over on Instagram if you had any questions about our trip, and pretty much you guys wanted to know about going to Disney in the summer, managing a split stay with a toddler, and the pros and cons of Riviera, and then a few other things sprinkled in. But those were the 3 most popular questions that I got on repeat. So we're gonna talk all about it. Let's just go ahead and dive in. Okay, the first question, how is it having a solo trip with your daughter? So Ellie is 3.5 right now, and this is actually my 3rd solo trip with her. And I love it. The first trip was last summer and I was very nervous. Traveling alone with her for the first time ever, going to Disney alone, I just really got in my head about it, had no idea how it was gonna go, and it went great. I fell in love with taking her to Disney, and I really enjoy this style of trip. I feel like I'm able to give 100% to her. When it's just the 2 of us, she gets 100% of my attention, and I'm really able to make the trip geared towards her. So it's not necessarily me and Andy doing rider swap for Tron or Cosmic Rewind, and then she's just kind of along for the ride waiting for us to do these experiences. Whereas with this kind of trip, it's all about her. So whatever she wants to do, that's what we do on this trip, and I think that's the fun of it. And a lot of times I would switch our plans around last minute because she wanted to do something different, and because this trip was geared towards her, I was able to mix our plans up and no one else was affected because it was just the 2 of us on this trip, and they're honestly some of my favorites. So if you are a mama who is debating taking your little ones to Disney on your own, I guarantee you can do it. I actually have a video all about tips for taking a toddler to Disney World solo, or just little kids in general solo. So I'll have that video linked down below if you want to hear more in depth about my experience and some tips that I've learned along the way. So I'll have that linked for you. But I love these kind of trips. They are the best. What was the highest temperature during your trip? Did your makeup hold up pretty well? We're going in August. The temperature averaged about 95, 96 each day, but factoring in humidity, the heat index was around 105 while we were there, which was the hottest I had ever experienced. It was unbelievably hot. We had been to Disney last year in July, and I remember it being hot, but not like this. This felt like a different kind of heat for some reason, and the humidity was on a whole nother level. And makeup wise, I would say my makeup actually lasted pretty well. I do pretty light, minimal makeup, so I'm not wearing foundation, lots of powders, just for the reason of it's so hot outside and you are dripping sweat. So every day I pretty much wore a tinted sunscreen. I'd put on some cream blush, a cream bronzer, and mascara, and that's pretty much it. And it lasted pretty well, I would say, because anytime I had like sweat just like dripping down my face, I could just wipe it off and it wasn't a big deal. I didn't have lines or streaky, messy looking things because it was just a sunscreen. So no layers of makeup and powders caked on or anything. So as long as you keep it pretty light and just go the sunscreen route with a little bit of blush, mascara, your makeup should last and you'll be good to go. Would you go in July again? After this trip, probably not. I don't think I will be planning another July trip anytime soon. And we did go first week of June even. So we've been in the summer, but June was even, I mean, that was nothing compared to July. June was like high 80s. So it was hot, but it was not even close to the heat in July. So I don't know if we'll be planning another July trip next year, it just was so hot and it really affected our time by 11 a.m., 12 o'clock. I mean, the heat was just unbearable and we had to leave. And we leave the park during that time anyway for my daughter's nap. We go back, midday for that nap time, afternoon break. But even once she was up from her nap around 3:30, it was still too hot to go back. And so we would just wait for it to cool down. Some days it was just even too hot to go out to the pool. The water was like bath water because it was so hot out. So the water wasn't even much relief from the heat. We actually spent more time in our room on this trip than any other trip in the past. I mean, I was really surprised at how much time we spent in the room because it was just too hot out to even go to the pool. We did spend some time at the pool, but not a ton. We would make indoor dining reservations or we were in our room, and then once the sun went down, then we would go back to the parks. So we didn't even get that much park time because it was just too unbearable. So we would spend 2-3 hours at the park in the mornings and then a couple hours after dark at night, and that was really all we could handle because of the heat. So all of that said, I don't know if we'll be planning a trip in July next year. I just think there are so many other times to go that are way better weather-wise. Riviera pros and cons. Okay, the pros, of course, are the resort is beautiful. Hands down, we can all agree. The Riviera is a gorgeous resort. The rooms are breathtaking. And then of course you're right on the Skyliner. That is the main perk of the Riviera. So you have direct access to Hollywood Studios and Epcot. You have incredible dining. Primo Piatto and Bar Riva are some of my favorite grab and go, quick kind of just lounge, quick service kind of places. They're just so good. The food quality is incredible. And then of course Topolino's, and then you have Le Petit Cafe with all of the different pastries and coffees. It's just incredible. So dining is top notch here. The con, I would say the main con is the price point. I think Riviera is so overpriced, and most of the time Riviera is more expensive than the Grand Floridian. We were able to get 35% off with our annual pass discount, and that was still expensive. Like, we still paid a lot even with that annual pass discount. So I'm imagining without that 35%, even if you can get 25%, it's still so much money. That's the biggest con for me, but other than the price point, if you can get a killer deal with renting DVC points, or you have an AP discount, or some kind of deal, then I think it's worth it, but do not pay rack rate for this room. How much does Mike's transportation cost versus an Uber? So I do get a lot of questions. Everyone wants to know the cost and wants a firm number of what they can budget for. But the thing with private transportation companies is the cost is really going to vary based on which airport you're flying into, how many people are in your party, the vehicle size you need. So there's a lot of different factors, and you really just need to reach out and get a quote. And there's no strings attached with a quote. Like, it doesn't hurt to get a quote, and you can get the exact pricing for what your specific party would need. But I will say you are going to pay more for private transportation as compared to an Uber. You're paying for a luxury experience. Private transportation is a luxury service, and that's what you are paying for. Were wait times better or worse than other times of year? It really depends. There was one day we went to Magic Kingdom and it was the night of extended evening hours, and wait times were insane. Like, over an hour wait for Dumbo at 8 o'clock at night. I mean, just ridiculous. So I don't know what was going on with wait times that night. I guess a lot of people were there for extended evening hours, and I'm not quite sure. But then we came back to Magic Kingdom a couple days later and wait times were under 20 minutes all day long. So it really just depends, I guess, on, if it's an extended evening hours day, if it's a party day for a Halloween party or Christmas party, if you're there for a major holiday like Easter, 4th of July. So there's so many factors that go into anticipating wait times. And of course, there's times during the year where crowds are less significant. In the past, crowds have been lower in July just because it's the middle of the summer. It's so hot. But again, it just depends. I was really surprised by the one day in Magic Kingdom where wait times were astronomical, and then just a few days later, there was hardly anyone in the park. I have no idea. I wish there was a way to fully predict. I know there's lots of different crowd calendar resources out there where you can try to predict wait times and, crowd levels, and, check out touring plans if you really want to dive into that. If you had 2 toddlers ages 2 and 3, how would you do sleeping arrangements? So right now, I put Ellie on the pull down 5th sleeper bed just because it's a smaller bed. She feels a little more comfortable. It's a similar size to the bed we have at home for her. So that's why I put her in the 5th sleeper bed. If we don't have that option in whatever room type we're in, then I'll just put her in the 2nd queen size bed. So that's what I would do for one toddler. If we had a 2nd toddler, I would do the 3-year-old in the bed, and then the 2-year-old, if they're still able to fit in a pack and play, I would try to put them in the pack and play in the bathroom. That way there's a little bit of quiet and separation between the two to give them the best chance of sleeping and taking a nap. So that's what I would do. If the 2-year-old is past the pack and play phase, then I would either do one in the queen bed and then another in like a little blow up toddler size bed on the floor. So there are a couple different options, and you just have to figure out what works best for your family. How do you book your split stays? So split stays are really simple. You're basically just booking 2 separate reservations, and you're just making sure that your checkout day of your first reservation overlaps with your check-in day of your second reservation. But there's no other steps you need to take, no other special secret you need to know about. So it's just 2 separate reservations, and you make sure that the checkout day and check-in day overlap. Of all the Disney resorts you've stayed at, where would you rank Riviera? I would put Riviera number 4. My top 3, and this could always change, but my top 3 are Grand Floridian, Wilderness Lodge, and Old Key West. And then I would put Riviera right under there. It doesn't have easy access to Magic Kingdom, whereas Wilderness Lodge and Grand Floridian have direct access to Magic Kingdom. That's another kind of con for us in this season, where Magic Kingdom is our number 1 park with a toddler. That's where we spend most of our time. And I know Old Key West is not known for its great transportation, but the price point and the size of the villas and the overall atmosphere of Old Key West really outweighs the transportation cons for us. And when we stay at Old Key West, we typically have a car, so that's usually not a big factor for us when we stay at Old Key West, so that's why it still ranks in my top 3 for me. But Riviera, I would put number 4. So it still ranks pretty high, but it's not quite in my top 3. Is a short split stay easy with a little one, or does it feel rushed? So we did 2 nights at Riviera and then 2 nights at Grand Floridian. If this had been our once a year big Disney trip that, we'd been waiting a full year for, I probably would not have structured it this way. I probably just would have picked one resort to stay all 4 nights at. But because we do split stays so often, it really didn't feel rushed or like a big inconvenience for us. And the big pro of doing an Epcot resort or an Epcot Hollywood Studios resort and then moving over to a Magic Kingdom resort is that you kind of get the best of both worlds, which was my goal on this trip, was to have easy access to Epcot and Hollywood, and then we move over to the Grand for easy access to Magic Kingdom. So we kind of split up the trip to where we had the first couple of days focused at these parks and then the last couple of days focused at Magic Kingdom. For us, it did not feel rushed, but again, we do split stays pretty often, and once you get a system down, you kind of figure out what works. But if you're someone who's planning your annual family Disney trip and you have 4 nights, personally, I would just stick with one resort. I think it really simplifies, especially with a toddler. That resort transfer day is a gamble. It can go great, it can go horrible, just with nap time and everything. So if you're okay with that gamble, then maybe it is worth it to do, the half and half kind of thing. But if you want the security of knowing, like, we're just in the same room the whole time, we don't have to pack everything up, we don't have to wonder about nap time on our transfer day, we just want to feel settled, then I would stick with one resort. But I enjoy split stays, especially with my job and what I do. It allows me to experience more resorts and, you know, all the things. But anyway, I hope that answered that question. Tips for managing the heat with toddlers. The first thing would be make sure you have all of the little gadgets. So all of the fans, portable fans, misting fans, stroller fan, the cooling towels. My toddler loved the cooling towel. She was like kind of possessive over it. And whenever I tried to take it from her to like get it wet again, she would freak out and be like, my towel. So I always had to get it back to her really quick because she just loved that cooling towel. So make sure you have all the things, make sure you're staying hydrated, you know, make sure you're offering snacks and kind of going above and beyond than you normally would on a regular trip any other time of year. In the summer, you really have to stay on top of it. So those are kind of the obvious things to do. My other tips would be try to factor in more indoor experiences. So do more shows, do more attractions that you're going to spend more time waiting in line indoors rather than the outdoor queue, if that makes sense. Try to factor in at least one sit-down table service meal every day. That's really going to anchor your day, but then it's also going to get you out of the heat. And if you do quick service, just make sure to find something that's indoors. We made the mistake of having lunch at Woody's Lunchbox, which was miserable. It was so hot and it's just chaos trying to find a table out there. It is like dog eat dog. Trying to get a table is just a nightmare. So especially in the summer in the heat, just avoid any outdoor quick service locations. Take any opportunity to be indoors. And I know this sounds silly, but instead of walking down Main Street, we would walk through the gift shop because it would allow us to be in the AC and still make our way up Main Street without being in the heat. So anything you can do to get indoors, use every opportunity. And then of course, by 11 a.m., 12 o'clock, just call it a morning. Don't try to push it past 12 o'clock because it's just gonna be so hot. It was around 11:30 and my toddler was done. The heat had just zapped her. She was starting to get a little whiny and wasn't quite acting like her normal self, especially at 11 a.m. That's normally when we sit down and eat lunch, and she's still doing great, but she was kind of coming undone. And I knew it was because of the heat. So I also had to extend a little extra grace for her in knowing, okay, this is not her. This is just the heat, like really affecting her right now, and we need to go. Don't try to push your park days too long in the afternoon. I would say by between 11 and 12 o'clock, if you're there in July, leave. Just go back to your resort, go sit down and have lunch inside somewhere. Like just be done outside between 11 and 12 because it's miserable. And then even by 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, when we usually go back to the parks, it was still unbearably hot. So we would either go down to the pool, but if the water was too hot, then we would try to just hang out in the room a little bit longer, or we would go sit at a lounge somewhere. I would let her run around in the lobby of a resort, like just anything to be indoors. So you may not spend quite as much time in the parks if it's over 100 degrees. You know, by 3, 4 o'clock, it's still brutally hot. Don't try to push it. Take it easy and just extend a little extra grace. Those are my tips for surviving the heat with a toddler. How do you navigate a split stay with a toddler? Just hope the room is ready early. Kind of, pretty much. I'll share what we did, and I have a full vlog coming documenting our whole split stay day experience. But how our day went, I ended up bringing our bags down to Bell Services, and you can actually have your bags moved over to the next resort, and Disney does this free of charge. But the one caveat with this is that you won't see your bags until 5 or 6 o'clock that night. And that wasn't gonna work for us because my toddler had her lovey, her blankie, her sound machine, a change of clothes, and I did not want to pack all of that with us in the stroller. So I decided to take the luggage over to the Grand Floridian myself. So I actually had a minivan come, and you could just do an Uber, but we did a minivan. And I brought the luggage over to Grand Floridian on my own. So we get to Grand Floridian Oh, I have to double check times. It was about 12 or 12:30. I think we got there at 12:30. And I went and did an in-person check-in. So that's another tip. Even though we had done the online check-in and I could have just waited for a text that our room was ready, I wanted them to know that we are here, we're waiting, we would love an early check-in. I go do the in-person check-in and I asked if there was any way we could get into a room within the next couple of hours. And the cast member helping me was able to actually switch some things around and he got us into a room immediately, which that has never happened before. So at 12:30, we got to our room. So my plan was I had a little pool bag packed, I had our snacks, our lunch, like I had everything ready, prepared as if our room would not be ready, but it was. So I took all of our stuff up to our room at 12:30 and I switched things around and we did not go to the pool. I let Ellie take a nap and then we just kind of went on with the rest of our day after she got up from her nap. So that was our experience on this trip. That has not been our experience every time. I would say we're more likely to get a 3 p.m. check-in, maybe a 2 p.m. check-in, and that would be good. If I can get a 2 p.m. check-in, that is a good split stay check-in day. That's how our day went. I hope that's kind of helpful to hear a little bit. You just never know though. That's the thing. There's no way to guarantee that you'll get into your room early. So the key is just to be prepared as if your room won't be ready until 3, 4 o'clock. Come prepared and do some pool time and bank on having a late nap, or if your little one can nap in the stroller, mine definitely cannot. So sometimes those days get a little rough. If we're not able to get into our room until 3, 4 o'clock, that really affects my toddler, but we just roll with the punches and, we'll let her take a nap from 3:30 to 5:30 and then we stay up super late that night and just, we go to bed at 10, 11 o'clock. So we just make it work, I think that's the main thing, is staying flexible on a split stay transfer day and really not making a ton of plans. Like, don't make dining reservations, don't make a ton of lightning lanes at the parks. Just let that be a resort day, go with the flow, be super flexible. What are Ellie's sleeping arrangements? Right now, I'm putting her in that 5th sleeper pull down bed just because that bed is most similar to what we have here at home, just size wise. If we don't have a 5th sleeper pull down bed option, then I'll just put her either in the Murphy bed or in the 2nd queen bed. But yeah, that's what we do and it works out great. If I put her in the queen bed, I'll just take pillows and kind of block off the side of the bed so she's not rolling off. We've never had an issue with her rolling off of beds before, so I've never been concerned, but there are a ton of things you can do. Disney provides bed rails, a bunch of different options if you want your toddler to sleep in a full-size bed and you want to feel a little more comfortable with them sleeping that high up. There are a bunch of things you can do. How late do you feel toddlers can hang at night? Is it possible to hang after fireworks? Every toddler is so different, of course. Some need to stick with their schedule and be in bed by 8 o'clock. Others are good to stay up till 1 a.m. It really just depends. We did one night where we stayed for extended evening hours. It was from 10 to midnight, and it was actually at 11 o'clock. I was the one who was done. I literally could not keep my eyes open, and I had to break it to Ellie, like, Mommy is so tired. We have to go now. But she was pretty tired too. She was kind of in a daze. Around 11 o'clock, she was just very zoned out, not super thrilled about anything. She was just kind of there. And I just knew, okay, 11 o'clock, we've stayed a long time. We need to go. We'll see how she does. We're doing the Christmas party later this year. I don't know if we'll be able to last the entire party based on our extended evening hour experience. So we will see, but it's definitely possible to have your toddler stay past fireworks. I think the trick is having them take a later nap. So maybe your toddler usually naps from 12:30 to 2:30. Let them do a 2 to 4 nap. And that way, getting up and going by 4 or 5 o'clock, they are fresh, fully rested, and they can maybe last a little bit longer. I think it's absolutely possible. We usually stay just past fireworks time. It just kind of depends on the toddler how late past the fireworks times you can go. All right, I'm gonna start kind of zipping through a lot of these questions. I feel like I'm getting long-winded here. So, do you prefer the Riviera over Grand Floridian, which is more toddler friendly? Personally, I think Grand Floridian, just because of the location vacation, and usually toddlers are gonna wanna spend more time at Magic Kingdom, so that's why I would pick Grand Floridian. Were you able to do laundry at the resort? So we personally did not do laundry this stay. We had access to do laundry. There is a laundry room if you're staying in a studio at Riviera or at the Grand Floridian. You absolutely have access to do laundry. That just wasn't something we needed to do on this trip. Favorite things about each resort y'all stayed at? Riviera, definitely the Skyliner. I love having that access to Hollywood Studios and Epcot. And then Grand Floridian, probably the pools. They have amazing pools. And if I could pick one resort to have a pool day at, I would pick the Grand. Which is your fave, Skyliner or monorail access resorts? I really like the Skyliner. I like being close to Magic Kingdom, but I'm not a fan of how slow the monorail can be. It honestly can take a really long time. So when we were trying to get to Epcot from Grand Floridian, we took the monorail to the TTC, and then you switch routes, and then we get on the Epcot monorail and go over to Epcot. This route literally took us 50 minutes, 50. It took so long. There were so many delays. We got stopped so many times, and I was so frustrated. So for that reason, I would probably pick the Skyliner, and it's just less crowded. You get that whole little gondola to yourself. You have breathing room, and the monorail can just get so busy. I would prefer to get on a boat or to walk over to Magic Kingdom. It was so hot on our trip that we did take the monorail. It's not my favorite though, just again, because it can get so crowded. And then at the end of the night, forget it. I mean, it is just a madhouse trying to get onto the monorail after the fireworks. That is why I would pick the Skyliner. I love the location of the monorail resorts. I just don't love the monorail itself. Did you stay in the new Mary Poppins room this time at Grand Floridian? We did not. We stayed in the Deluxe Studios, so not the new resort studios, but the Deluxe Studios. So the original DVC building at Grand Floridian. I haven't stayed in the new resort studios yet, but I really love the original DVC Villa building at the Grand. I love that you have your own check-in area and your own lobby. It has its own like overhang driveway area. It's close to the parking. You're really close to the beaches pool and the splash pad. So for those reasons, I really love the location of that building, and you're close to the Polynesian walkway, which is really nice. That's about a 10-minute walk over to the Poly. I really love the rooms too. They're not quite as updated, of course, as the new Mary Poppins rooms are, but they're still nice. They've been somewhat updated about a year ago. I love the layout. I love the split bathroom. I love that you get the walk-in shower, and then you also have the tub shower combo. Then you can split it off, so if you have a pack and play, it's really nice that you have that extra space. I just really love the layout of these rooms a little bit better than what I've seen in the resort studio rooms. I like that you have an actual kitchenette, whereas the resort studios, you still have that beverage cooler. That's a huge thing for us. With a toddler, we have to have an actual refrigerator. So I love having that actual kitchenette that the resort studios don't have. Love the Deluxe Studios. Those are always my go-to. How did having an annual pass change the way you approached park time with Ellie? It totally changed our trip. I love having an annual pass, especially in the summer, because like I mentioned earlier, we did only spend a couple of hours at the park in the morning, and having an annual pass really took away the pressure that I needed to be in the park and get my money's worth out of my ticket. Because in the past, when you buy a 3-day ticket, a 4-day ticket, you're literally counting money as time. And when you have an annual pass, I mean, we've already made our money back on what we've spent with the days in the parks that we've already been. For me, I really love that I can pop into the parks for a couple of hours and not feel like I've wasted a full day ticket. Or on our arrival day, if I want to go to the park for an hour that night just to catch the fireworks, again, I'm not using a full day ticket. We can just pop in and catch the fireworks. I think it made our trip just feel a little more relaxed, and again, didn't have the pressure of feeling like I had to get my money's worth out of our tickets. We could just spend as much or as little time in the parks as we wanted. Tell me more about Orlando Transportation by Mike and why you like them so much. I have tried a handful of transportation options to and from the MCO airport to our Disney resort, and out of all of the options I've tried, Transportation by Mike just stands apart from all of them. From start to finish, the entire experience feels like ultimate luxury. They honestly make you feel like a celebrity, and it's pretty cool. When you walk down into baggage claim, you're gonna see someone waiting for you with a sign with your name on it, which already is like, ooh, like here we are. Like, you know, it's just a cool feeling to see your name on this little tablet with your driver waiting for you. You just feel so fancy. And your driver is gonna offer to grab your bags for you, whether you're doing carry-on or you're gonna wait to pick up your checked luggage, either way. And then you're gonna go down to the transportation ground floor. Most transportation companies are gonna have you go, once you get off the elevator, they're gonna have you go to the left outside, and that's where most transportation vehicles are waiting to do pickups. That's where Mears, what used to be Sunshine Flyer, was down on the ground floor. But with Transportation by Mike, they're actually gonna take you to a private covered pickup area on the right-hand side. So you're not gonna go outside, you're going in this tunnel, and this is where all of the luxury vehicles are parked. So I'm telling you, it is the ultimate luxury experience. They're gonna open the door for you, grab all your bags, make sure everything is loaded up, and they provide car seats. That is something you'll need to communicate ahead of time during the time of booking, but they'll accommodate whether you need a front-facing car seat, a rear-facing car seat, whatever you need, they'll have it ready for you. What I love and appreciate is that the drivers are so professional and they make you feel so comfortable, and they're just so pleasant to talk to. They're so kind. I could go on and on. This is a 5-star service, and I cannot recommend them enough. All of their website listed down below. I'm not an affiliate with them. They do cover my transportation on our Disney trips, but I can't recommend them enough. They really are incredible. Go check them out. All right, this is gonna be the last question. I'm gonna end with this one, and this is a good one. Do you think you would travel to Disney solo with your kiddo if you didn't do YouTube? I don't even know. I haven't thought about what my answer is gonna be to this, so you are getting my very raw, authentic answer here. I wanna say yes, but truthfully, I don't think so. I don't know if it would have even crossed my mind. I don't know if that desire to take her alone would have even surfaced if going to Disney wasn't part of my job. And of course, after experiencing that trip with her on my own for the first time last year, I fell in love with it. It went great. And it's easy to say now, oh, of course, they're some of my favorite trips. It's so great. I love it. And I can recommend it, you know, to everybody. I'm like, do it, take your toddler, go. But I don't know. I really don't. And honestly, going to Disney as much as we do every 6 to 8 weeks is not realistic. I have to remind Ellie that as well, that this is not a normal childhood. And if it wasn't for Disney being part of my job, we would probably go to Disney once a year, maybe twice, maybe like we could squeeze in a little weekend trip, but we would probably go to Disney once a year, maybe every other year. I don't know. This has become my job, and so going to Disney is just part of what we do to create content, and I earn an income from this, which is crazy. But all that to say, I really don't know. It's really tough to even envision what would my life look like if I didn't do this for a living, and so it's tough to say what my decisions a year ago would have been if I didn't have my channel. Would I still have the desire to go to Disney multiple times a year? Would we just go once a year? You know, I don't know. I can say I am so thankful that I did take my toddler to Disney a year ago for the first time solo, and I had that experience with her, and now we've done it 3 times total, and I love it. I'm so thankful for those memories with her. I wouldn't trade it for the world. That wraps up today's Q&A. Thank you guys so much for your awesome questions. And I have more vlogs coming soon, so make sure that you are subscribed if you're not already. If you're still watching at this point, you should definitely be subscribed. So hit that red subscribe button down below. Thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.